Hey, how's it going, buds? I'm Arthur Eby. The probability of finding a bright blue lobster in the ocean is 1 in 2 million. Lobster is a delicacy today, but in the 17th century it was considered trash, fed only to prisoners, servants, and animals. What we want has changed a lot throughout history. It might change just day by day. There's got to be more of a reason why we want the things that we do. Just in general, why do we want things? Well, the word want comes from the Old English word wan, meaning deficient, and several psychologists have laid down the desires that all humans share. Maslow's triangle of desire shows simple things like food and water at the bottom, with things like self-actualization at the top. These lists agree with Sigmund Freud's theory that everything we want comes from the desire to be great. John Dewey, another psychologist, put it a slightly different way. The deepest desire humans have is a desire to feel important. Even the most important people can't get enough of that feeling. George Washington wanted to be called His Mightiness, the President of the United States. Catherine the Great refused to open any letters that were not addressed to Her Imperial Majesty, and even Christopher Columbus pleaded for the title Admiral of the Ocean and Viceroy of India. A feeling of importance is not something that will really help us that much. Why do we want it so much? It may stem from ancestral roots. In any setting, the most important member of the pack eats first. The second most important members eat second, and the least important members of the pack eat last, if at all. Well, wolf packs don't actually use that kind of hierarchy very often, but Dale Carnegie once stated that we crave a feeling of importance almost as much as we crave food. Maybe because our ancestors had a type of hierarchy which provided more food to those who were more important. But why do we want food? The answer lies in a protein called ghrelin. When stomach cells detect that the stomach is empty, they release ghrelin into the system, which eventually make it to the brain, telling your brain that you're hungry. Stomach cells also produce leptin, the opposite of ghrelin. When the stomach swells, leptin is released, telling your brain that you want to stop eating. Now, some people can't produce ghrelin, and they usually turn out pretty normal, but some people can't produce leptin, and they swell to unimaginable sizes. They probably didn't choose to be that way, but they really never even had a choice. They never knew when to stop eating because their brain didn't tell them that they were full. They are a group of people who can never be satisfied. But why do we want to breathe? It's not because of oxygen. Now, if I hold my breath right now, the carbonic acid building up in blood from too much carbon dioxide is what sends signals to the brain telling you that you need to breathe. Chemically speaking, we have no desire for oxygen at all. We only want to breathe in order to get rid of carbon dioxide. Now, the air we're breathing right now is about 21% oxygen, 78% nitrogen, but if you breathe in 100% pure nitrogen gas, your brain won't even tell you that you're slowly suffocating. This has happened on several occasions. During a countdown test for the Columbia spaceship, the entire ship was flushed with a pure nitrogen atmosphere to prevent any explosions. Once it was complete, technicians got back on the ship and quickly lost consciousness. 3 men died because the ship still had too much nitrogen. But not all of the reasons for our desires are purely physical. We love things that are familiar to us. So much so that if you put 2 shirts, exactly the same, right next to each other, one priced at $34 and one priced at $39, people will actually be more likely to buy the $39 shirt. We are so used to seeing 9s on price tags now that if we see a price tag without a 9 in it, we automatically assume there's something wrong with it. It makes sense that we should like familiarity. Cavemen who lived in familiar places and ate familiar foods didn't die from poisonous berries. But in some experiments, foreign things and foreign people are generally rated more attractive or better than familiar things. Oxford psychologist Charles Spence states that if you give the food on your menu an exotic label, people will make far more positive comments about it than if it has a ordinary label. We love things that are foreign. We generally like the concept of travel and trying new things, probably because cavemen who liked to travel stayed more hygienic before modern sanitation was implemented, had more access to food, prevented inbreeding by finding other tribes, and had more healthy babies than cavemen who didn't like to travel. Either way, desire is at least a little bit genetic. Ted Garland has bred mice that run over 15 kilometers per day. Considering they're only 10 centimeters long, that's like a 6-foot human running 275 kilometers every day. They have only been selectively bred that way for 10 generations, but they seem to enjoy running over 10 times more than ordinary mice. Now, mice are used for 95% of animal testing because they're the cheapest and easiest mammals to use. But when is the cheapest option the best option? In one experiment, subjects were given 2 glasses of wine. They were told that one was from a $10 bottle of wine and one was from a $90 bottle of wine. Everyone agreed that the $90 wine tasted far better than the $10 wine, even though it was the exact same wine from the exact same bottle. When the subjects were placed in an MRI machine, their brain activity was far greater when drinking the expensive wine as opposed to the cheap wine, indicating that it really did taste better to them. Cost can affect our perception of almost anything. Coconut oil is one of the healthiest types of fat you can eat, right? Well, there are only 2 types of fat that the human body really needs: linoleic acid and linolenic acid. On the scale of fat contents, lard has 5 times more linoleic acid in it than coconut oil. In terms of just getting the fat you need, lard is a healthier fat than coconut oil. It's easy to think that more expensive things are better, and sometimes they are. But if what we want can be augmented so much by prices or names or genetics, how do we know what we would really want if we had no knowledge about the things we think we want? When faced with the difficult decisions in life, it's hard to know what we really want. Sometimes the best thing to do is just to make a decision. For the road of life is paved with the flattened bodies of squirrels who never made a decision. There's a different reason why we want each thing, and it's a bummer when we don't get what we want. But could we really have expected to go throughout our entire lives getting everything exactly as we want? How do we even really know what we want if we don't know why we want things? Maybe by knowing a little bit more about why we want things, we can get closer to the things we really, truly want. So embrace the future, be a part of it, and think about it.